Good morning, everyone. My name is Joshua Biggins. I'm a partner with Infosys Consulting and delighted to be here. Kurt's going to kick us off. So Kurt, you want to start the presentation?
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you very much. And thanks as well for letting us participate with you guys today. We're excited to be here. As a little bit of an introduction there, my name is Kurt Sweetser. I'm with Southern California Edison, and I am responsible for the IT solution, the technology solution for our multi-year program. So today we're going to share some information with you around what we did with our large implementation. We'll talk a little bit about what it looks like. We'll talk about the turbulence that we encountered. I'm sure many of you have encountered similar things with many projects that you're going through. How we looked at going virtual first as a model going forward, as well as what did we focus on for our keys for resiliency. So we really focused, wanted to make sure that we shared some information with you today that would be relevant and something you could apply. I think some of it will be, maybe some core information that you've probably used elsewhere, but certainly it'll be things that you can maybe double down on or reinforce. Okay, so let's talk a little bit here about, maybe just to set the stage, just as a refresher. Many of you may already know, but if you don't, Southern California Edison serves, several thousand square miles across all of Southern California. We have 5 million accounts, 15 million customers, and we have a 30-year-old solution that we are replacing. And as a result, it's very old technology, both from a mainframe perspective, from code, et cetera, is on in a solution that we needed to replace. So we're really focused on making sure that we, help our customers with our front end solutions and our products and programs make, really smarter, cleaner energy choices. And then secondarily, making sure that we achieve operation service excellence. So in other words, how do we continue to provide a sufficient amount of uptime, limited, reduced, and reduced downtime for all of our customers? And not only our customers, but obviously internally for our own team members inside of the organization. We started this back in 2017. We're going to go live in early Q2 of 2021. And we're going to replace literally, upwards of 70 or 80% of our solution. That's upwards of 160 applications. And as a result of that, we are also, looking to, as part of this, we're going to streamline our processes. So many of our workflows are changing. We're obviously going to things that are much more out of the box. So we're have reduced customization, but that reduction in customization doesn't mean that we're not having all the same efficiencies we had in the past. It's actually things that are built into the solution. So that's very helpful for us. As well as some of the things that we thought of as we were looking at this, we were thinking of things being safer, more secure, making it seamless, and making it a satisfying in-game for everyone that's engaged with the solution. So that's a lot to take on under for several years, but we're really excited about where we're heading, and we've had really good success so far. So let's go to the next slide. So Joshua, why don't you take it from here, talk a little bit about the complex journey, a little bit of the turbulence, and talk about some of the things that we did to make that transformation really quickly.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to estimate the complexity that we're dealing with here. I liken it to changing out the aircraft engines while in flight at 30,000 feet. A lot of moving parts. We had, actually, I think it's about 1,300 resources on the program between SCE, Infosys, and a variety of other partners. There were 48 what we call edge applications that were connecting with the core SAP ISU and C4C solution. Over 9,000 test cases, 80 third parties, 221 interfaces, a lot of complexity, supporting 5,800 internal users, as well as the SCE.com website and all of the external users accessing it. So that's your complexity. But as we think about the challenge, there are a number of factors that kind of make this a lot more challenging. So one is obviously being located in California. We have wildfire events and public safety shutoff events that pull business resources away. And just like any utility, it might have storm events. In the summer of 2019, there was a major replanning, and Infosys had been involved in the program, but we took over as the primary SI after that. So there was a transition of resources. You had a lot more complexity than kind of originally planned. As you can imagine, when you have a solution this complex, there's a constant need for change control. The program's in its its third year. The business doesn't stop. Regulators continue to have demands, and so being able to work through those and progressively get a tighter and tighter handle on scope and start to lock that down. Dealing with a backlog of demand as other programs are ongoing, and then on top of all of that, you apply a global pandemic. It just a little bit of turbulence while trying to change out the aircraft engines. At the time, I used that analogy, and then COVID hit, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we're under enemy fire. It was certainly a challenge, but I was just amazed and impressed with how the joint team, SCE and Infosys and all of the other partners that were involved responded to this and were able to really turn on a dime to not miss a beat. So I want to kind of take you through what that looked like and the complexities that we were dealing with. So Infosys took over as the primary solution integrator in December of 2019, and we were going through this transition. While doing the transition, the dates didn't move. The schedule was a schedule, and we still had to continue to meet it. So we were in the middle of integration testing cycle 3, which at that time was our most comprehensive testing cycle. We were testing 85% of the solution, over 6,500 test cases. We were able to achieve 99% execution, 98% pass rate. And then as we got through the test cycle, literally we finished the test cycle on a Friday, March 9th, and then the next Friday was the last day in the office as we went to 100% remote with COVID. This was particularly challenging because of the nature of the long partnership between Infosys and SCE. We have very stringent security controls and protocols in place. We have, over 1,000 people in our offshore delivery centers, and those facilities are secured. People are not able to take information outside. When COVID hit, we worked with the Todd Enlander, the SCE CIO, literally getting exceptions on Sunday night and shipping desktops to people's home. Only about 23% of our people had laptops in our offshore delivery center. We had about 440 people on the program offshore, and we literally had to ship them out. There were cities that were shutting down in India, and within 2 days, we were able to get 85% of the people up and working, and within 2 weeks, we were able to get to 97%. So obviously, cities were shutting down in India at that time. Movement between locations was restricted, and we still had a program to deliver. So we still had to prep for ITC4. We were still completing our service provider transition. In fact, we completed it successfully on April 4th, transitioned over 200 resources with 21 tracks of work, 365 different knowledge transfer sessions, updating the solution documentation. And then, in addition to all of this turbulence, we had additional demands on the program and solution gaps, right? We built an automated bill compare solution to help us automate the parallel billing testing so that we could quickly compare results and make sure that the bills were going out accurately and identify these issues prior to go live. We identified, out of balance situations, which are common in SAP ISU, and started correcting those. We had some issues with PII data that we built back into the product to help SAP develop a better product with C4C. We had a very long cutover window that we were able to reduce by almost I think it was 2/3 reduction in that cutover window by doing parallel data loads, adding additional mock conversions. We had all kinds of environment conflicts that we had to sort out and resequence our environments. And then really focusing proactively on how do we reduce exceptions so that post go live, we're not overloading the back office personnel in terms of processing these exceptions and really getting on top of all of those things. And then we just recently completed our integration test cycle 4. So this was the first cycle where we tested 99.7% of the solution. So it's almost the entire solution, a few minor change requests that were coming in late. And we got 99% execution rate, 99% pass rate. We're currently in the middle of ITC 5. So, really focused on solution quality and, getting the right thing out. I want to hand it over to Kurt, who's going to talk a little bit about some of the things that made this successful. So Kurt, take it away.
Great. Thanks, Joshua. Thank you very much for the setup. As you can tell, there's a lot of things going on. And like I said early on, there's a lot of things going on for everybody during this very interesting time. But what we focused on were several areas here, but we tried to categorize them in a few here, 5. The most important thing is, as you can, for all projects and programs and everything you do, is people first. And I think what's really important is that all of our leadership, we established from day one the fact that it is really about the team and how do we make sure that we engage and understand every individual's needs. So we understood, what were the demographics, what were the ergonomics of our demographics going on, and what did they need at their home? What were the situations going on? And that was really a maturing or evolving process. We really learned about that. In addition to that, one of the things you see at the bottom there is that we learned over time that, the team was working so aggressively and so hard. And I imagine that this is very true for many of the folks listening in, is that, you started to work earlier and you finished later. And it was just natural because you had this convenience of being in your home or things were working that way. So we realized that, in fact, in one particular case, we were doing a 7x24 cutover process, and we had to ensure that we allowed our team members to take a safety break. We literally recognized that they were working too long and too hard. Folks were getting really tired. They were asking for naps, quite frankly, during this period of time. And we started to put these things together. And it wasn't myself, it was actually team members that engaged and said, look, we're going to do something that isn't really part of our plan, but we're going to take a 7-hour break. We stopped from midnight until 7 a.m. and we enabled the team. We said, everybody, go take a rest, however you're going to do that, wherever you are. It's important to do this. And we really focused on the people first through that process. So we continue to do that. Contingency planning, I'll just take a thought here that we added resources. So we took a step back and we said, look, this is different. We have to do things much more uniquely through other means. So there's going to be different communication channels. And in doing so, it's not going to be the same number of resources to execute. So it wasn't like double or tripling down on everything we had. We really focused. We took a really focused look at how do we deliver and how do we add the appropriate resources, subject matter expertise. And it wasn't just about with ourselves internally at Edison. We also talked to all of our partners. We added professional services across the board. And the great thing is that I'm alluding to something on the next slide, but everybody leaned in. And everybody, it wasn't something like how can a partner gouge us? This is an opportunity. Everybody recognized the situation. We're very fortunate with that. We really appreciate Infosys for how they've leaned in and all of our partners for making that happen. Rapid decision making. We truly, what I call, is order the helicopter. Back in early when I was an engineer, someone just said, "Hey, Kurt, order the helicopter. Get to the mountaintop." This is the same thing. There's things and opportunities where you really needed to make a decision. You couldn't wait for that chain of command, and you needed to do the right thing for the program or for a person. And we allowed that to happen. We went back and we took a look at many of these things. And it was like, great, yeah, it was the right thing to do. No change, keep going forward. Next thing, I mentioned this to a degree, relationship first. We focused on how do we engage with each other, and making sure that as we looked at all of our relationships with all of our partners across the board, we really had transparent conversations, and we said, okay, now how does this then apply to the contract? So that was really good. We're fortunate in sharing best practices. We had a lot of information that's coming in. We're continuing to do that. We're fortunate to do that with several of our peers. So that's really helpful with our utilities, with Duke, San Diego Gas and Electric, Southwest Gas, and others. So great there. We're doing that as well with our partners, OpenText, Itron, SAP, and all of our partners that are SI partners. Of course, Infosys, EY, and Deloitte. We've got plenty of relationship with KPMG, et cetera. So this is really good. We're really sharing best practices, and everybody's really chipping in to do the best thing we can. Celebrated small successes, simple things like celebrating a really some difficult defect that we were working through. And sure enough, making sure that everybody was aware of it. If it's a simple email, or if it was something, like you've done in the past, where you applaud team members, everybody gets off of mute and you applaud everybody. So that's a fun thing to do as well. And then finally, this virtual first component here down at the end is I'll take two things from this area. One is that we really dug in with our detailed orchestration of execution. So we really took a step back and said, look, normally you'd have conversations in the hallway about, oh, you need to do this in addition to that part of the plan. Well, we dug in and we said, let's be very specific about what it is that we're putting into our plan when it comes to resources, et cetera. And that really helped us out as we're going into deployment, our user acceptance testing, and specifically with our training development and delivery. And quality control, we took a step back and we said, okay, what are we doing about making sure that we have a second or third set of eyes on this? Because again, normally you'd be in a large room, you'd be having these conversations and you'd be able to share some tidbits of information. So what we did is we asked for support from various parts of our organization, our business team members, to engage with looking at some of our results and outcomes, and then testing us to make sure that those were truly the outcomes that we expected. So it was really, really positive. So let's go to the next piece of this. And what I wanted to share here is that, what were the keys to this resiliency? Again, it was one team. You heard Joshua and I alluding to this. We have really come together as an organization and as a partnership across the board. And it's very helpful for us, really important to assume positive intent. So it's very easy to, push across the table and to really point the finger, but it's better and it's harder and it's the right thing to do to assume a positive intent and take a step back, listen more. And I think we've really done well as a result of that. The next thing I would say is, does it make the boat go faster? I don't know if many of you are familiar with a while ago in Olympics. I'll make this a quick story that a British rowing team, they all decided to take a step back and say, everything we do is going to make sure that the boat goes faster. So it's training, it's what we eat, it's how we sleep, it's everything we do. It's the events we go to. We're going to make sure we do it all just to focus on that. And that's what we've done. We said, everything that we do, we say, is this important? And this is the right thing to make sure that our solution, one, has quality, which is really paramount. And number two is meeting things on time and meeting the needs of our internal team members as well as our customers ultimately. So that was really, really important. We reward transparency. We love red, and that's the inside of that watermelon. We don't want folks to say, oh, it's green. We have, of course, like everybody else, weekly status discussions across our organization, and we really, truly celebrate red. We ask a lot of poignant questions, of course, but it isn't to a point that we're trying to point a finger, where it's really about, we want to know more, so how do we help? How can you escalate to us? How do you give something to me? How can I take that rock from you, put it in my backpack so I can run up the hill and take the charge for you? This discipline about applying more stringent change control, this is about how do we actually engaged our executives as we got tighter. The aperture got tighter and tighter as we move forward. And we've invested time, and I should say our executives invested time, and we put this governance process in place that anything that comes forward, we're making sure that their leadership is approved and they understand the outcomes and the trade-offs that we're going to have to make. The last thing I'll talk about is agility, and that means doing everything possible. That's one thing that we adopted as a group and an organization. It's something we learned from one of our culture setting and how we build our team early on in the program, and we made sure that we are understanding how we lean in. So we're really focused on, if you look at this, all the keys to our resiliency, this is about, it really probably you're saying to yourself, geez, Kurt, that's some of the things that you normally do. And you're right, it is. But these are the things that when you get down and you start to get myopic and you're focused on a problem that you really have to double and triple down on. And I, just would reinforce, take a step back, think about opportunities to engage with others, share ideas, share concepts. And as a result, we've been very fortunate to have some really good results as it comes to, where we're landing right now with our final integration test cycle. We're moving into our dress rehearsals, and we're excited about how we're leveraging all of our relationships to look forward to, a really, really powerful and positive go live. So I'll leave it at that. Maybe I'll hand it off. I think we got just a few seconds left, and I'll hand it back to you, Paul.
Thank you very much. Great story. And I especially love that slide on the keys to resiliency. So great and so appropriate now. Reminder, audience, if you have any questions, put them inside the Q&A widget. And so our first question is, what is the most important piece of advice you would provide to another utility looking to undertake a CR&B transformation?
Yeah, I'll take this one if you don't mind, Joshua. I'll throw out there that, I kind of alluded to that here, so I'm cheating a little bit, but I'll share the fact that what's really valuable is understanding a couple of things. This is complex. Make sure that you set up early and frequently engaging with the team. You really can't do it without all of the team members, their knowledge, expertise, just their tenacity. And so it's important. What I would say is, you may try to race to a finish line, but as you're racing, make sure that you understand it takes an entire team, the coaching staff, all of the training that you put into this to ensure that you get that to that finish line. So I would say just look at this holistically, understand what the needs are of your team, and I think you'll have a very positive outcome.
Yeah, I mean,
Great,
I'll just
you.
add to that. I think the key thing is, and I'm sorry for the background noise there. The key thing is having everyone rowing in the same direction, everyone having the same goal, understanding what the objectives are, doing everything possible, and feeling protected enough that they are willing to disclose problems early and rewarding that early transparency. And you might think it's a technical problem, but really technical problems we can solve, right? It's the people problems and getting people, when you've got 1,300 people, getting them all to row in the same direction is a huge challenge. And if you can do that, you can conquer anything.
Thank you. So my last question is, what kinds of accelerators have you used to reduce risk or accelerate delivery?
Yeah, sure. I'll take that one. I mean, I think one of the big things that really helped us is we built an automated bill compare tool that helped us compare the bills from the legacy mainframe system to the bills coming out of SAP ISU in an automated fashion, so we could quickly identify, any variances. So we were able to actually quickly identify those and then get very high accuracy. And we're still in the middle of our parallel bill testing, and we're already have achieved all of our targets and are now continuing to improve on them. So we're looking for very accurate bills, and this has really helped us.
I'll add two things
Great.
quickly. One is we're very fortunate. We have a very strong PMO, and it may sound very backwards or upside down, but the reality is that strong governance and making sure that you really follow through with processes really helps you. So strong, risk, issues, actions, decisions, very, very valuable. The second thing is, I would say, is communication. You can't over communicate. The more you engage all of the organization, all of your partners, communication, I would say, has accelerated us, and it has been very, very beneficial for us.
Great. Thank you, Kurt and Joshua, for this great session.